few years ago and came on full time. I'm going on my 1-year anniversary. Woo! So we're so happy to have you here. If there's ever anything I can do for y'all in the future, I'm going to send a follow-up email at the end of this. And if y'all ever need anything, I'm your go-to gal. So let's get started. We also want to welcome all of our friends watching on Facebook Live. We're happy to have you here. So let's get through this series here. I'm just going to kind of go over some info. Here's a list of all of our Lunch, Learn, and Lead series that are coming up. Of course, we have the amazing Kim Beckham with us. Next month, we're going to have small business finance strategies. They always do such a great job. So if you would like to register, here's your QR code. I need to give a big, huge shout out to our amazing VIP investors, which all of these are. I'll send the details as far as what that entails as well in the follow-up email. Basically, it gets you everywhere the BBB is. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. So check that out. Make sure y'all get registered. And again, remember, all accredited businesses are only $5. If you're a non-accredited business, it's normally $25, but we're going to work on getting you accredited. How's that? So, awesome. This is what we're super excited about. Let me get on this side. We had a blast last year, y'all. If whoever didn't get to make it, we had 38 teams there, first time. Door prize is amazing. These are all, of course, VIP investors. Actually, Republic Services came in as a sponsor. They're absolutely awesome. So they'll be there. Here's the QR code as well. We're going to have it back out at Truvine. Who doesn't like going to Truvine, right? I mean, it's great family atmosphere as well. Also, just FYI, that same evening, once we are done, the Toadies will be there in concert. So Michelle is giving out as one of the gifts tickets to that Toadies concert. So if y'all haven't registered yet, we've only got room, y'all, for about 15 more teams. So make sure y'all get registered pronto. And of course, we're always looking for sponsors as well. So next Shred Day is coming up in Longview out at Drug Emporium. We do it out there every year. It's a great turnout. Like I said, another list of all of our sponsors as well as our VIP investors.
So what's a Shred Day?
You're able to take any of your paper goods and you take them there. You literally sit in your vehicle and you don't even have to get out. We have ambassadors that come help us as well as our team is there. And you literally pull up, sit in your car, we dump it, you get to watch it be shredded on this truck, shred it truck, and that's it. Then it's gone, we're good. And it's free. Boom, I had to throw that in there. Thank you for the reminder. Lindale, the one in Lindale is on October 23rd. Actually, we love our friends at Lindale Chamber. It'll be at their offices. But last year, Shelby was shocked. She didn't think as many people would show up as they did because they had one earlier in the year. But we partnered with them on this one, and it was like triple the amount that she thought it would be. So yay. So it's a great opportunity. We're always looking, as you can tell, we're so proud of our ambassadors. We're looking for energetic people that want to advocate on behalf of the BBB. So important, y'all. Here's a QR code to find out more. We're getting this picture updated with our newest ambassadors, but we are so grateful for everything that they contribute. It really means the world to us. We couldn't do it without y'all, that's for sure. So make sure to check that information out. This is the spotlight with Mix 93.1 that Michelle spoke about at the last meeting. I'm going to send all this, like I said, in a follow-up email to y'all once we leave so that you'll have all the details. But it's a great opportunity. We're partnering with KTYL on this, and Mr. John Martin does such an awesome job there. But like I said, it's just a really great opportunity to get your brand out there, and I'll send all that. And then also, this is pretty cool, our cinema advertising. As you all know, it looks to be that people are going back and starting to watch movies more and more often because I personally see that they're actually coming out with some good movies for a change. So this is a great opportunity. Again, I'll send all this in the follow-up email. We just wanted you to look over it. And then one last thing I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to send you all this information as well, but it's going to be a little video just because it's so quick. We're currently, by popular demand, massive demand, we're going to start doing Google and YouTube targeted ads again. We've done them in the past. They were very successful, but we're getting ready to start those up. I mean, this is ways for your brand, your business, and we do it all for you, to be seen by tens of thousands of people through YouTube and Google. So I will send you the details. I put a flyer for y'all to take with you just to kind of look over it. Like I said, I'll send a little video, quick snippet of what it's all about. And let me know if y'all have any questions. So here we go. Let's get John Sanders up here, our amazing ambassador from Southside, to introduce our awesome speaker.
I like to speak over this tonight.
No, sir, I'm good.
It's a pleasure to introduce our speaker today. Kim Beckham is a regarded speaker, leader, coach, lifelong learner who has been leading people to success for over 45 years. He has led organizations as small as 10 people to over 1,000. He's a published author, currently working on his third book. Maybe he'll tease us with the title. He has a passion for development and leadership, and is a thriving coach, leadership training business, as a John Maxwell certified coach. He's a sought-after speaker at corporate events as well. In addition to his work as an executive coach, he's entering his 4th year of offering monthly leadership training classes that have elevated the skills and careers of his participants. The class continues to grow, now in its 5th year, due to the results that people are seeing in their professional and private lives. Kim has been happily married to Barbara Beckham, his wife, for 50 years. They have 2 lovely daughters, Jessica and Amanda, 2 fine son-in-laws, and 4 above average Kim will make you think, he'll help you dream, and he'll teach you to believe in yourself and make you a more effective leader. It's a pleasure to introduce Kim Beckham.
I gotta get my groupies, in here too. Get on in there, Kim.
I appreciate my mom writing that for me. It's good to see everybody. I love the BBB and love the Lunch.Learn. Isn't Rochelle amazing? If you look up the word personality and kindness in the dictionary, her picture will be there. I mean, she is that. And all the people here at BBB are just above average. Shawan and Tamara, great people. And of course, we're huge fans of Michelle.
Yes.
Mighty Michelle.
Yes.
And she teaches you a lot about size, but size doesn't matter. She's so well amazing. And thank you, Ed. It's good to see Ed. He is my second favorite Filipino.
There's only 2.
Great man right there, and all the other friends we have in the room. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak with you today. I am happy to get to do it when asked to do it. And they asked me if I would speak on leadership. And in fact, they assigned me a topic. It's like going back to school. And so I got assigned leadership mastery. So we'll talk about that. How many of you consider yourself to be leaders in what you're doing? Yeah, good. Because the reality is all of you are leaders in some form or another.
We start at home.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The very beginning place for leadership is in the home.
Amen.
And you know, we certainly see that, and I had a privilege of pastoring for 45 years, and I pastored this Central Baptist Church over here for 35 years, long enough to see the impact of family on generations. And when you see families that have, I know. Come in. We were waiting on you. Come on in.
I'm sorry.
No, come on in. Come on. We don't mind. God, we don't mind, do we?
No.
Yeah, that's all right.
I'm not sure if you have the correct place. This is the
BB&B Lunch.Learn.
That's your speaker. No. Okay.
Here's lunch. Here's it, Brad.
I'm sorry. How are you?
What's your name?
Maria. Hi, Maria.
Sorry, Maria. Yeah. Anyway, so leadership certainly begins in the home. All of us are leaders. It's really a matter of the whole. It's like when you're training and teaching and doing an example. You either a good example or a bad example, but you're always an example. And so you're either a good leader or a bad leader. You're either teaching people how to be better leaders by your example, and they're following you, or you're showing them stuff that they don't ever want to do. But either way, we're impacting. So it is a very important field. I remember the very first time I became aware of the power of leadership. I was 16 years old. I was working to support the love of my life. I was in love. I mean, I just couldn't get enough of her. I spent every single dime I could make working at Safeway grocery store before the Busy Bee grocery store, and then I got, because I couldn't afford this love on that salary, I got hired by the Safeway grocery store, and that love of my life was a 1969 Ford Mustang. It had deep dish chrome mag wheels and a 351 engine, and it took every bit of the $35 I made a week to make that thing happen. And anyway, I've been working at Busy Bee grocery store, which was a mom and pop grocery store, and I was very privileged to have a position there as a stocker and a high school kid. But Safeway was a union store, and very rare in Texas, and they paid about $1 more per hour, nearly double, to work at Safeway than it paid to work at Busy Bee, so I got a job there. And I immediately learned something about going to work for somebody that pays you nearly twice as much. They expect twice as much. And so I went there, and I'd been working in an organization. It's kind of laid back, kind of tell us what to do and let us go do our own thing. When I went to work for Safeway, they were very regimented. They had just hired 2 managers. One, his name was Doug. He was an older man. Seemed that way it meant to me at the time. He was probably in his mid-30s, but I thought he was ancient. And then they had a young assistant manager, and I can't even remember his name, but I think it was Steve. But he was in his early 20s. He had just gotten out of the military. And he ran the stocking crew, where we put things on shelves. They hired his kids to take things off trucks, put them on the shelves, mark them with the price, and put them up. Well, that store was 3 times the size of the other store, and it took, they should have had 12 stockers, 12 stock boys working on that, but they did it with 6. And they did it with 6 because they demanded an awful lot out of us. And they pushed us really hard. And I never will forget the first time I went to a meeting, and the very first thing I learned about leadership was the raise in expectations, where they said, look, you know, you're used to working at this pace, whatever. I see somebody come out and you better be moving, you better have speed in your gait, you better go directly what you're doing, and we've got a truck, and it's coming in at midnight, and it's got to be fully stocked by 8 o'clock, and if it's not stocked by 8 o'clock, you guys will be staying, and you will not get paid more, you will just keep staying. You know, that never happened. But they just raised the level of expectations. But secondly, what I learned was the power of example. Steve worked right alongside of us. He was in front of us. He was working harder than we were working. He was constantly encouraging. He was pulling us alongside. He was constantly teaching us new skills, ways to stock better, and investing in us. And so by the time I left that store 3 or 4 years later to do something else, it had completely transformed me as a worker in that environment and others. And I learned without even knowing, nobody said, hey, we're going to show you what leadership is. They just demonstrated it and impacted it. And it was the first time I fell in love with leadership. And so I got very interested in it, and I've done a lot of study on it. So I want to talk to you about mastery of leadership in your life. Once you maximize this, oh, by the way, I've given you a couple of handouts. I gave you a bookmark because readers are leaders, right? And so some of you, I know, like me, will read a lot on your digital devices.
Yeah.
But also, you perhaps like to read an old-fashioned book, which I often do as well. So there's a little bookmark that you can have and use. It's got 4 of my major principles that I try to teach in my classes, and then so I wanted to give that to you. I also have given you a fill-in-the-blank sheet because I believe that we learn more if we access more than one of our senses. So it's one thing to listen, it's another thing to see, it's a third thing to write something down. So I always like for you to have something you can fill in the blank, and then you can take home with you. All right, one of my principles is that once you maximize the use of technology, these wonderful little tools that we have here that have really sped up our ability to get things done in our work, and time management skills, making sure that you get the absolute ultimate out of your day, that you don't waste any time. Once you maximize those 2 things, the only way left to grow is through other people. Once you maximize your time management skills and your technology, the only way you can grow is through other people. Frankly, this is where a lot of people break down. This is where a lot of people have to make the decision whether they want to be content with having a practice or a business. You have a practice if you have to be in the room to make it happen. If you're not in the room and it's not happening, you have a practice. If you have business, it means because you have other people that are doing the work and you're making sure that it gets done. And so the only way you can grow your business is through other people. You got to have other people. And so say, well, I don't like doing that kind of stuff. Well, that's okay. You don't have to like it. But if you want to grow, either you're going to have to do it or you're going to have to hire somebody who knows how to do it. So leadership becomes important. The means of getting people, that means getting people to perform tasks and operate equipment for you. The question is how to get this done effectively. The least effective manner is demand and control. You'll do this or I'll fire you. And it's a great motivator. Fear works. The problem with fear is it only works so long. And then when people are no longer afraid, they stop working for you. So if you have a demand and control situation, sometimes your best people, as soon as they have another opportunity, are going to take it because they're not going to live under fear. The best way to motivate people is through leadership instead. By the way, in today's competitive environment, the big differentiator is people service, right? It's what makes you stand out over other people. And in your business, the only people who make you money are the people who perform at a higher level than is expected. That's how people really make you money. If people, and by the way, the average worker only does the minimum they have to do not to be fired, correct? That's all they do. They do the minimum they have to do not to be fired. So those people are not making you money. They may be getting a task done and they may be keeping you from losing money on that particular task, but they're not making you money. The people that make you money are the people that make your customer go, wow, that was really amazing. I will have to tell somebody about the experience I had at that business. And the only way you get people to do that is leadership. Is when you inspire them. You get them to do more than is required. You get them to do more than is asked for. And the way you do that is through leadership. So how good a leader are you? All right. Leadership's talked about everyone, everywhere. It's a very popular subject. All social media is full of it. And I don't mean to insult anybody. I probably have posted some things that sounded kind of fluffy too. But you see a lot of things on social media about leadership, and really they're just fluff. They don't really make any sense, or they're cute little bromides or whatever, right? Things like, and I don't mean, they're true, but they're only true at a very base level. Leaders don't try to get better themselves. They make others better. Well, yeah, that's true. Leaders put others first, yeah. And leaders pull along rather than push from behind. We get a lot of that, right? You can flip on any social media, LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, or YouTube, and you'll see a lot of this. The problem is, along with those very basic bromides, it's just a lot of fluff. It's not really telling you anything that's going to help you get better or help other people get better. So we have to move a little bit beyond those fluffy sounding statements. Leadership is actually more complex than what we think about. For instance, leadership often happens when we're not looking for it. I wasn't looking for leadership when I went to work at Safeway, but they provided it and I found it. And a lot of time the leadership that you're providing or the leaders that are motivating you weren't even planning to motivate you. It's just who they are and the way that they do things that got you thinking at a higher level. I have a very good friend named Step, who is a trainer, and we've been together friends for many years, and I love having coffee with him, and we work on projects together sometimes. But my favorite thing about Step is I always say I always leave him thinking at a higher level than when we sat down. Man, I love people like that in my life. I need more people like that. But oftentimes, he's not trying to do that. That's just who he is. Leadership often happens when we're not looking for it. Leadership impacts when we don't expect it. You're impacting people, you may not even know it. And this is why we have to become aware of this and conscious of this. You are influencing people, as we'll see more about that in a minute. But leadership is more an art than a science. That's why You can read 100 different books on leadership and we'll never exhaust them because it's more art than a science. I started teaching leadership training classes 5-6 years ago. I thought, well, I wonder if I could get some people to come to a class, if I put a price on it and they would come and I would teach them basic leadership principles, if anybody would even come. And 5 people came. I was really excited about that. 9 months later, when the class was over, they wanted to keep going. Liked it, so I wrote another level, 9 more months of curriculum, and had a level 2, and those folks got a whole new class, number 1. They got done with that year, they wanted to keep going, and now we're in year 5. We just keep going because leadership.
It's addicted.
Huh?
It's addicted.
It is
It wants
addictive.
more and more and more.
And it's inexhaustible because it's kind of like exercise. People say, you know, exercise doesn't really work. Well, not if you do it one time.
Right?
You have to do it, right? You have to do it over and over. And motivation and leadership is kind of like that. You have to continually feed it. You have to continue. And there's an inexhaustible amount of information you learn because it's an art, not a science. I can tell you general principles, but I don't know your situation, and I don't know your personality, and I don't know your business culture, and I don't know that particular person you're trying to lead. So because of that, it's art, not a science. So what we have to do is just like every artist. How does an artist become an artist? They just develop within them their skill set, and they build their skill sets. They get better at mixing paints, better at understanding colors, better at brushwork and whatever, so that when they're moved to paint something, they have a greater skill set to paint it. And that's what you do in leadership. You constantly develop your leadership skills so that whatever the situation, you're ready to handle it. And by the way, it's based on relationships, not position. Very first thing you learn about leadership is leadership's not a title. Would you agree with that? Yes. You know, when I was a young pastor, I started a church and had just me and the people I was pastoring, and my entire work was done by volunteers. You know, I didn't have anybody but volunteers. And sometimes we weren't as effective as I wanted to be, and I used to daydream about the time that I would have hired staff. And then I could just say to somebody, you will do this, and you will do this at 8 o'clock, and if you don't do it, I'm gonna fire you. And I thought, man, it'd be so great to have hired staff, because once I have hired staff, I'll never have any more problems. So any of you have hired staff?
Yes.
Is it true you don't have any more problems? Maybe more. And the problem is because the biggest mistake is leadership's not a title. Just because we have a joke in the ministry and in the church world, you're the preacher from the day you show up, but you're not the pastor until they decide to let you be the pastor. The pastor is the leader. The preacher is just the speaker. You're the speaker from the day you show up, but you're not the pastor till the people in that church decide, we're going to let you influence our life. We're going to let you teach us and train us and whatever, and they're going to receive that information. By the way, you may be the owner of that business, but are you their leader? Not unless they give you leadership. Not unless they say, now you can fire them and get rid of them, but again, we know that's a short-term solution. But if you really want to keep them and grow them, it's got to be relationship-based, not position-based. You get, let me get a little feedback on that. Anybody have a comment on that? Anybody had some experience with that or run into that? Or seen some, not you, but you saw somebody else run into it. Yes.
Not you.
My prior career was a commercial property manager and managed 5 million square feet. And the best advice I got from my mentor was never to ask your staff to do something you wouldn't do yourself.
Amen.
And we managed 126 cleaners for this building. And we would have like a quarterly meeting. We would sit with them and talk and get to know them. And it was the first time they said they'd ever had senior management come down to their level, so to speak. And I could have asked any of them to do anything because we were there with them. And we would go to bat for them.
Excellent. Excellent. Good example. Yes, sir.
My wife and I were eating at Chewy's there in Terrell, Texas, and I suspect some of you know where Terrell, Texas is. New store, the manager, we've eaten there about 4 or 5 times, and it's a new store, he's always there. But it's not the fact that he's always there, but he is bussing tables, doing everything, carrying trays, everything, and he is a leader. He's letting everyone know that he can do that job too.
Very good.
And that's why they're always packed, and they're a success, because you've got a leader like that. And I've told him, I said, you do a great job.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
and
Great
he
example.
needs to have that affirmation also
Recognized.
from customers, so they know that, hey, he's doing the right thing.
Yes.
Very good.
Amen. That's a great.
Yes, ma'am, you have your hand up?
The relationship thing is meaning that you're connecting with the person and each person is an individual.
Yes. People?
And
Yes.
the whole thing about position is it's usually a title.
Yes.
Yes.
So I think that's one of the most important things is knowing who your audience is, knowing who your team is, and
Yes.
knowing each one of them as individuals.
Yes. Excellent. Excellent. Excellent comments. You know, knowing people by name, speaking names. When I first took this church over here, it had gone through some struggle. It's a pretty good sized church, 500 or 600 people a week. But it had been through some difficulty. And I'm the new pastor, and I got to tell you, it's kind of a funny story because I got credit for something I didn't really deserve. But there was this young man who was cousin to one of the team members we had. So he's walking up to the office as I'm leaving the office, and I've only been in the church 3 weeks. He's walking up to see his cousin, and he's got a work shirt on. He's, working one of those work shirts that has your name on it. So he's walking up, and he has his name. It says right there, Keith. So as he's walking up the sidewalk, I'm pretty sure this is Keith because it says Keith. Most people don't wear somebody else's name shirt. So when he walks up, I said, hey, Keith, it's good to see you. And he said, well, hey, Pastor, good to see you. Then he went in and talked to his cousin. He said, this new pastor we have is amazing. He's only been here 3 weeks and he already knows me by name. I didn't have the heart to tell him it was written on his shirt, but I'm glad he thought that, and I tried to work on it. But the fact is, it's relational. People want to know that you know who they are and how you go. One caveat I would give to what we were saying about doing the work is you need to show your people you can do it, and you will do it, and you have done it. But you don't always do it because eventually you've got to have them do it.
Yes.
So the thing I taught my team was I was willing to do anything, pick up the trash or whatever. I would do everything, and in a pinch I would do it, but my job was something else at the time. But as long as they know you're willing and you have and you would do it, they'll follow. All right, gotta move on. Okay. Here's a good example about relationship. I have a friend of mine that works for an organization, and they were going through a remodeling. And they had moved her into a troubled part of their business that was having difficulty. And the previous leader had to be removed. And so the group was very demoralized. And she was trying to re-energize them and get them going. And they had a little project going on in the front of this building. They were taking out a little wall and they were broadening, making bigger the lobby. And so they, it was just sheetrock or load-bearing walls or anything. And so she said, it's cool. We ought to do that ourselves. We can have some fun with this. And then the workmen had left some of their tools there. They had some sledgehammers laying around, whatever. So she went and grabbed her a hard hat and grabbed a sledgehammer and went up there and started whacking on the wall. Didn't say anything, just started whacking. Pretty soon, one by one, these other 8 team members came up and joined her. And she looks around and they've all got hard hats on and they've all got sledgehammers or hammers, and they're just smacking away on these walls. It's not their job. They're just doing it because they're having fun. And she said they're all laughing, all having a great time. And it was a turning point in how this group operated because they sensed her willingness to work. They sensed that she cared about. They sensed that they could have fun. So it's about relationship, not just a title.
And
All
we're
right.
about some frustration.
Get out of the frustration.
That's very important.
All right, I'm a John Maxwell certified coach, and John Maxwell, who has written 26 best-selling books on leadership, says, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. That's all it is. If you're influencing people, you're a leader. If you're not influencing, then you're not. We used to say it this way, somebody says, I'm leading, And he says, if you think you're leading people and you turn around, nobody's following you, you're not leading, you're just taking a walk. Leadership is influence. They're either influenced by what you say or they're not. And so, how do we increase our influence? Leaders earn their positions instead of relying on titles. We've mentioned that. Leaders set the vision and stand in the gap until it comes to pass. This is one of the most powerful leadership principles I know, and one of the most difficult things about leadership, especially the larger organization. Because the higher up the org chart you move, the greater vision becomes a responsibility and your challenge. Providing vision for the organization. And one of the ways that vision is done, oftentimes the leader sees further than anybody else and sees faster than anybody else. And the leader sees what we need to do and what we're going to do before it happens. And then the leader puts that project or that idea in front of the people, and then you as the leader have to stand in the gap between what is and what will be. And it will always be an awkward position because change is always difficult. And it's always going to be slow at first. Any new skill, any new thing you do, it's awkward at first. And so when you make a change, your organization is going to have this awkward stage. And people are going to want to retreat from it. And this is where the leader has to stand in the gap between what is and what will be. And all you have is your influence. All you have is who you are. And the better you built that, the more effective you're going to be at providing vision and then leading the change to make it happen. Leaders take people further than they thought they could go. That was my absolute favorite thing about being a pastor, besides giving the Word of God to people, was challenging a group of people about, here's what we can do. Hey, let's build this new building. Let's purchase this new property. Let's do together what we cannot do by ourselves. Here's the vision. Here's the excitement. Get people excited about it. Work them through the process and see it come to pass. And it's always exciting as people go further than they thought they'd go. Leaders value being respected over being liked. Being liked is a good thing. It's not the most important thing. I did not necessarily like that early manager at Safeway. In fact, he scared me to death. But I respected him. I respected his work ethic. I respected his skill set. I respected his honesty. And I didn't necessarily like him, but I respected him, and therefore I did what he said and more than what he said. You know, Steve Jobs, who is famous for having built the Apple Corporation, said, if you want to be liked, sell ice cream. If you want to be a leader, don't expect everybody to like you. And he's right. If you're going to be a leader, sometimes you're going to have to do things that people aren't going to like. And if you've got to have everybody like you all the time, you're not going to be very effective. Sooner or later, you're going to have to do it. And here's what is great. Leaders often become trusted shepherds. And I mean that in the generic sense. People come to lean on your leadership. They come to enjoy it. This is one reason, frankly, that a lot of people continue the classes year after year, is it becomes like their community and their place of being shepherded, and somebody's watching over them they can trust. But as a good leader, you'll become like a shepherd. Many years later, I would go back and see those managers at Safeway because they meant something to me, even though I had moved into completely different fields. All right, leading. So first level leadership, if we're leading, you got to lead yourself. Is what you have to say to your kids. Your kids are saying to you, by the way, what you're doing speaks so loud, I can't hear what you're saying. The most difficult thing about being a parent is they're not going to become what you say, they're going to become who you are. It'll scare you to death sometimes. Yes. Your personal example is more powerful than your words. Same thing with leaders. And so when you're telling your people to do something, you better make sure your walk matches the talk, or you're going to have trouble. We all get credibility chips. Anybody, any poker players in here? Oh, all of y'all are such good Baptists. Oh, poker players. All right. Just joking about that. But we do understand the game anyway. We understand they don't play most of the time. Movies always depict it, but they don't play with cash on the table. You play with chips, right? And the chips represent money. And when you're betting on a hand, you put chips out, and then you either win or lose. But you've got to have some chips to get in the game. You're not even in the game if you don't have any chips. And the more chips you have, the bigger the game you can play. Well, in the game of leadership, we have credibility chips. We build our credibility by our actions, and they give us influence, or they give us chips that we can use to influence people. What are some of the things that build our influence, our chips? Being prompt and dependable. Leaders should not be people they wonder what time they're going to show up. Some of you leaders in here I've had interactions with, and I'll have to say I'm very prompt. Juan came in and got that lesson. If Juan tells you he's going to be there at 9 o'clock, he's going to be there at 8:45. Because he's dependable. If he says he's going to be there, he's going to be there. Well, your people, if you tell them, hey, all right, we're having a staff meeting at 9 o'clock, and you show up at 9:15, there had better been the rapture that morning and you missed it. Or your car, something. But if you tell them to be there at 9 o'clock, you better be there. They need to know that you're prompt and you're dependable. Are you efficient and effective? The reason those early store managers influenced me so much is because they were so good at what they did. I could see how hard they worked, and I could see how effective they were. Do you have skills? You know, hopefully you have some skills, not necessarily skills in your business, because some of you, your skill is management, your skill is leadership, and you don't have to know the particular ins and outs of the intricacies of the business you're managing, but you better have skills of managing. You better understand how to manage people with different things, and the more skills you have, you know, people don't buy cars, used cars from somebody with cars sitting up in the front yard on jacks all the time. That'd be kind of crazy, wouldn't it? I mean, you know, we want to know, if I'm buying a car from somebody, I want to buy one from the guy whose car runs like a top. You know, I don't want to take leadership training from somebody who keeps failing at everything they're doing. So we got credibility chips. All right, here's how we do this. Here's some things you can work on. First level leadership skills. In my first level class that I teach, we teach those classes here at BB&B once a month, 11:30 to 1. We teach the classes. We talk with, the first thing is controlling your mind. You know, you've got to make up your own mind. You've got to control your mind. If you want to change your life, you got to change your mind. Change your thinking, change your life. We think we do, and then we think. That's the opposite. We think, and then we do. If you want to change what you're doing, you got to change what you think, and that means you got to control your mind. Not just let everybody dump stuff in your mind. You have to control your mind. We have a little lesson on that. Goals. I believe in the power of goals. You can't get anywhere you don't want to go. Try going up to the airline counter at Southwest and saying, I'd like a ticket. And they say, where do you want to go? Well, I don't know. Just give me a ticket. They're going to have a very hard time giving you a ticket because they got to know where you want to go. It's amazing to me that people know what they want on a hamburger. Mustard, pickles, lettuce, onions, no cheese. And my gosh, coffee, you know, I want a triple latte with soy milk, with shaved down the almond butter and put it in. They, you know, their coffee drink, they know how they want their coffee. Well, what do you want to accomplish this year? I don't know. What's your goals for your business? I don't know. Well, you know where you're going to be at the end of the year? I don't know. You don't have much done. You got to know what you want. I set 50 to 60 goals every year in 5 to 6 different areas, and then I work off of them all year long. Teach people the power of goals. Subconscious mind. Your subconscious is more powerful than your conscious. Networking, that's what you're doing here. You're building relationships. All of the things, the power of building those relationships. I just had a granddaughter graduate from Texas A&M. She has moved to Houston. Whoop! You gig 'em. She just moved down to go to law school in Houston. She and her husband, they just got married, and he's got 2 job interviews. And you know where he got those job interviews? From Indeed. Nothing wrong with Indeed, but that's not where he got them. You know where he got those job interviews? Friends of his parents and his in-laws who knew somebody and said, hey, my son-in-law is moving to Houston. Well, hey, my brother has a company down in Houston, and they're looking to hire somebody, and that's how they got those job interviews, because of the power of networking. 86% of all jobs are filled before they ever get posted on any site. That means if you're going to get a job, you're going to miss 86% of them if you don't have a good network. Networking, teach you about that. Teach you about time management and DISC training, the power of DISC in the workplace. How many of you have been DISC testing? Understand? I do DISC training and how to use the workplace personality and empower your people. All right, second level of leadership, leading others. Okay, once you've led yourself, yes, ma'am.
I don't know what this training is.
Okay. Well, it is a workplace personality test that it divides you up about 4 broad categories.
Is that the red, green, blue?
Yeah, I'll show you right quick. And then I'll talk to you after class and show you. But 4 broad categories. This, people are they primarily are in one of these 4 areas. They're either dominant, influencer, supportive, or compliant. And these areas show up in how you work. And we give you a test that shows you where you work, but even more importantly, it shows you how all your other people work. It shows you how your other people, and this one thing, when I did this at my church, it exploded the growth of our church. Because it enabled us to build teams in a way we've never been built them before. And this is a very powerful tool.
This tool, I really like it because one, it'll give you a score for like your natural state, and it also gives you a score like for your under stress state.
Yes, when you flex into doing it because the job requires it. Very powerful tool. Yeah, I'd be glad to teach you this and I give these tests and come to your company and teach them. Yes, somebody else.
Oh, I was going to ask a question, but it might not be it may be too long. But just my question is, how do you get through life not trying to be in a stressful situation, because that's when you're most maximized?
Well, you know what? That is too long a question. But Melissa, I would say you got to make choices. Everybody's going to have a certain amount of stress, so you got to figure out how much stress am I willing to take on, and where am I willing to cut it, not to deal with it. I'll talk more with you about. Or anybody else wants to talk about that?
Yes.
Also, you can go on my website, which is in your notes, to look at it. Okay, we want to do a thing with you real quick. You've got 2 pieces of paper there, green and yellow, all right? And then you should have 2 Post-it notes, green and yellow. So I want you to help me do a little test right quick. First of all, on the green sheet, I want you to write down the name of the best boss you ever worked for. The best boss you ever had. The boss who most impacted your life. Just their quick name, just the first name. We're not going to go into detail, but this was the best boss you ever had. And then, so everybody do that right quick and write that down. And then I want you to write on the yellow sheet the worst boss. The boss, now don't write their full name in case somebody knows them. If somebody in this room might know them, just make a sign. Use code, okay, because we don't want to embarrass anybody. But they demoralized you. They hurt you. They moved you backward in your career and your growth, okay? So, or they just completely demotivated you. So what was the worst boss you ever had on the yellow sheet? What was right, and what's the best boss you ever had? Okay? So real quick, once you have them, I want you to bring them and put them up here. And so I want you to post. That's why I don't want to write anybody's name on there. So if they were the worst boss, put it right here. Bring the post-it note. If they were the best, put it right there under the best. Okay? Real quick. So do this. And then back to your seats.
We're not telling on anybody, don't worry.
Now we don't know any of these people.
We may.
Of course, yeah.
Are you one? Bienvenido.
That's right.
Yes. Recognize you.
Gee, I gotta get look at all the names
All right, real quickly, let me get an example from somebody. Who would like to volunteer? Now, we're not going to name these people like we know them, but the best you can. So on this best list, who had a best and they'd like to say who they were and how they impacted? Yes, ma'am.
His name is Gordon.
Gordon?
Yes.
And why was he the best boss you ever had?
Because, and I get emotional.
Aw.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Go ahead. We like it. I'll cry right with you. Come on.
Yeah, right. Look at some tissue.
I'm crying.
Well, I am Mexican, and when I got here, I'm from Acuña, Coahuila. It's the border with the United States. So in high school, they teach us English. And as a Mexican, you know, you always have that accent, which I improved now, I guess. But
No accent at all.
No.
when I got here, I was really young. I was 18. It was my first job. And I understood English, but not as well. And I think I am where I am in part for him because he told me, you're smart, you're intelligent, you can do it, you're hard work. And instead of him speaking Spanish, he's an African-American person. So he speaks Spanish very well. He's like, you know what, Brenda? No more Spanish for you. You can't do it. And I didn't understand. A lot of people make fun of me because I couldn't say it.
Yeah.
But I'm speaking better because
I love the story.
he still, you know, got Spanish from me and he told me, speak English. You can do it.
What a
And
great mentor.
I
Yes.
learned a lot from
He
him.
painted a picture for you of who you could be, accepted you as who you were, painted a picture of who you could be, and trained you in the skill set so you could do it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Woo! That was very good.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
All right. I wish we had time to do a lot of these because these best stories we could go on and on. Now, a worst boss, and again, not any way that we might know who they were. You want to share?
I just got double hands
All
up.
right, but you're from out of town, so we're not likely to know that.
There you go.
All right, okay. Why were they the worst boss you ever had?
So this person was the leader of a group of about 20 of us, and the team joke was that you weren't a member of the team until she made you cry. She would throw stuff at us. She would swear at us. She would berate you in front of
Leadership to
people.
intimidation.
Yeah, she was the devil. And when she, when she retired, the company sent an email out to everybody that had ever worked on her team, and nobody showed up to her retirement.
See, karma.
Yeah,
Karma.
and she didn't understand. She was very hurt. And I'm like, what goes around comes around. And she was the best example of what I never want to be.
Yeah.
She taught you that at least.
Yeah,
too.
some people we learn what not to be.
Yeah.
Amen.
And
Great.
the friends that I made at that job, we've been friends for 20 years, and 2 of them were bridesmaids in my wedding because it bonded us.
Yeah, you were in the foxhole together. You were in the war together. Yeah, that's great. All right, those are great examples. Now, here's my question for you, because all of you are leaders, and some of you are leading corporations, some of you leading families, some of you leading businesses. If they were writing your name down, where would you want your name to be?
Green. Green means go.
You'd want to be on the best, right? We all. Nobody wants to be on that worst list. We all want to be on the best list. Now, here's the kicker. You don't get to decide which list you're on. They decide. They decide, just like your bad boss. She had no idea that she was going to go down on the list of people's worst boss. Now, we can do things that, when we become aware of it, that are going to stack the deck in our favor of being on this best list. But the point I'm trying to make is, if you're going to be a great leader, you have to be intentional about it and realize that other people are going to decide whether you're the best or you're the worst. So that's a great thing I keep remembering for myself and try to remember. By the way, that is from Tommy Spalding's book, The Gift of Influence. And if you haven't got that book, you should have it. It is one of the best leadership books I've read in the last several years, and he tells that story, Tommy Spalding, The Gift of Influence. And it's a great way to talk about the power of leadership. So we're talking about the fact that we're leading others. Okay, what kind of tools do we have for leading others? We teach them attitude. We teach them how to control their attitude. Part of the classes in that second year have a lesson on attitude. Delegation. People have to learn. If you're a successful worker, you will get promoted to management. If you're a great worker, you get promoted to management. The first thing you have to do is stop working. Because what got you there ain't going to get you where you're going to go. Because you're no longer the worker, now you're the manager. If you're still doing the work, you're not doing the new job, and the new job is managing. So the biggest weakness people have is they don't know how to delegate. You got to learn how to delegate. Teaching your people confidence. This is what your story is about. He got you confident in your language skills. And the bounce back factor. Helping them learn that failure is never failure until you quit. Failure is only a learning experience. And then we move on. All right, I'm running out of time speaking of failure. All right, I want to compare two quick leaders to you that I studied this year. That's a Tesla. Who built the Tesla company? Elon Musk. I just read his biography, and if you haven't read it, I'd recommend reading it. Walter Isaacson, excellent book for two reasons. One, Elon Musk is a fascinating leader who has built 4 different multi-million and billion-dollar businesses in rare fields. Incredible leader. Not a nice guy. In fact, he is known for not being a nice guy. But nonetheless, a great leader. So I read his book and learned some things from it. At the same time, I was watching a documentary on the Civil War in which it talked a lot about Abraham Lincoln. So I went on ChatGPT and I asked ChatGPT to compare the leadership styles between Elon Musk and Abraham Lincoln. And this is what ChatGPT said. It said, he embodies the leadership style focused on innovation, high-risk, charismatic influence. His approach is transformative and often disruptive with direct hands-on management style and rapid response to challenges. Lincoln, very different. Exemplified a more deliberate, principled leadership style. His focus was on moral integrity, strategic delegation, and emphatic communication with a cautious but resolute approach to managing crisis and achieving long-term goals. We know Musk for the mass firings. We know Lincoln for his inaugural address that the better angels of our nature need to become to play. Both leaders have been effective in their respective domains, demonstrating that leadership can take many forms depending on context and goals. So, which leader are you? Are you Elon Musk or are you Abraham Lincoln? And hopefully you take the best from both and leave the worst. Any farmers here? Ranchers? One of the things you have to learn, the cows are pretty smart. They will eat the hay and leave the baling wire. Right? They don't eat the baling wire unless there's something wrong with it. They make a mistake. They don't eat the baling wire.
They're hangry.
They eat the good part and leave the bad part. When you're studying leadership, take the good part, leave the bad part. Eat the hay, leave the baling wire. All right. 3 challenges, and then I'll close, give you time for a question or 2. 3 leadership challenges. Number 1, accepting the time invested in coaching others is worth it. Smooth is fast, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. That's a martial arts terminology. If you do something smoothly, you got to do it slow, and then do it smooth, and then smooth is fast. So you've got to invest in people. People don't automatically become better workers. They don't automatically become motivated. They don't automatically grow to be effective. You have to invest in them. Secondly, you got to accept that teams may be the most powerful thing you ever build. Our church, humanly speaking, exploded when I learned how to build teams. I was pastor of that church for 20 years, did a pretty good job. I knew how to pastor. I didn't know how to lead. And I learned how to build teams, and the church doubled in size. Teams may be the most powerful thing you ever build. Third, accepting that your growth will be a personal journey. There are no perfect leaders. You have to be teachable. You have to be teachable. You know the one person I can't teach? the person already knows everything.
Mhm.
Sometimes people get sent to my classes, they get nothing out of it. You know why? Other people go to the classes, double their income, double their success in career, get all excited. Other people said, "Tell me that was wasting my time." Why? Because they just didn't want to learn. They either figured they knew it all already, or they're just too lazy to do the work, or whatever. But they just didn't want to do it. You got to have a teachable mindset.
They're lost.
All right, whatever. You know, it's okay. All right. If I can help you in the future, let me know. I do monthly leadership classes. I do executive on-site coaching and training exclusive. I have 4 different businesses that I go into their businesses and do the training in their business. Then I do DISC training, emotional intelligence training. You take tests for that and explain them. And then one-on-one executive coaching, which I now have. Some of you have had the privilege of coaching one time or many times, and I now have 12 clients like that. So if I can help you in any way, please let me know. All right. I'm
Any
done.
questions? Anyone with questions?
Good job.
Yeah, you did an amazing job.
Anybody have a question?
Yeah, anybody with questions? We still got a few minutes.
Try to quit so you'd have time.
Ah,
Yes, Ed.
Kim, it's not a question, but one of the entertaining, but also a lot of lessons I enjoy on TV is Undercover Boss.
Yes.
Yes.
Undercover boss.
I do too like that.
Very good. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can see them learning a lot.
Yes. Now their costumes are pretty ridiculous in my opinion. It's not like you can't tell that
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
undercover, but the principal is amazing. I mean, and the things that they do for those employees are just, Kim, thank you so much.
Glad to
We
do
so
it.
appreciate
Thank
you. You know
thank
me and
you,
my
Michelle.
hugs.
Yeah, glad to do it.
So here's what we're gonna do, and I'm gonna follow up again, y'all, in an email. This again, if y'all wanna go ahead and make sure that you go on, you can either go to our Facebook page or our website to register for next month's. We would love to have y'all back. And then, like I told you, I'm going to follow up. I'm sorry, let me go back. Juan, I see you.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm gonna go follow up in that email with y'all along with some attachments and some links, so it'll make it easy for y'all to look at everything. And then also the YouTube link will be on there so that you can watch it again if you'd like. Okay? Thank y'all for being here so much. We really appreciate you. Bye!